Marcus Rodriguez had seen enough combat zones to know when something felt different. The dusty training ground outside Fort Bragg buzzed with nervous energy as elite military units gathered for the annual Special Operations Skills Competition. He adjusted his gear, checking his custom rifle one more time. As a Navy SEAL with 12 years of active service, Marcus had earned his reputation as one of the best marksmen in the entire Special Forces. The competition drew the military's finest from every branch. Green Berets, Rangers, Delta Force operators, and even some international allies competed in various challenges designed to test their skills under pressure. Marcus had won the precision shooting event 3 years running, and today he planned to make it 4, walking toward the registration tent. Marcus noticed the crowd gathering around someone near the equipment check. Curious voices carried across the field, mixed with what sounded like skeptical laughter. He pushed through the group and saw her, a woman in army fatigues, maybe 5'6", with short brown hair pulled back in a regulation ponytail. She was calmly filling out paperwork while surrounded by a circle of operators who seemed more amused than impressed. "You sure you're in the right place, soldier?" one of the Rangers called out, grinning. "The administrative tent is over there." The woman looked up from her clipboard, her green eyes steady and unbothered. "Staff Sergeant Elena Vasquez, 75th Ranger Regiment," she replied evenly. "And I'm exactly where I need to be." Marcus watched as several men exchanged glances. The 75th Ranger Regiment was no joke, but seeing a female soldier among the competition's marksmen was still unusual enough to draw attention. Most of these events remained heavily male-dominated, despite policy changes opening more positions to women. "Well, Elena," another voice chimed in, "hope you don't mind getting shown up by the big boys today." Elena simply smiled and returned to her paperwork. "Looking forward to it," she said without looking up. Marcus found himself studying her more closely. There was something about her demeanor that reminded him of the calmest operators he'd served with, the ones who never felt the need to prove themselves with words because their actions spoke louder. Still, he couldn't help but wonder what she was thinking, signing up for what many considered the most challenging marksmanship competition in the military. The morning briefing began 30 minutes later. Competition organizers explained the day's events: long-range precision shooting, rapid-fire accuracy under time pressure, and moving target engagement. Each challenge would be scored separately, with the highest combined score taking home the trophy. More importantly for career advancement, winners often found themselves recruited for specialized training programs and high-profile assignments. As participants drew numbers for shooting order, Marcus found himself positioned right after Elena. He watched her collect her equipment: a standard military-issue rifle, basic scope, and minimal modifications. His own setup cost more than most soldiers made in 3 months, with custom everything designed for maximum precision. "First time competing?" Marcus asked as they walked toward the range together. Elena glanced at him, noting the trident pin on his uniform that marked him as a SEAL. "First time at this level," she admitted. "You?" "Been doing this a while," Marcus replied, then felt compelled to add, "Look, no offense, but this crowd can get pretty intense. If you want any tips or—" "That's kind of you," Elena interrupted politely, "but I think I'll figure it out as I go." Something in her tone made Marcus realize his offer might have sounded more condescending than helpful. He'd meant well, but maybe she'd heard similar offers all day. Before he could clarify, they reached the firing line where range officers were setting up targets at various distances. The first event would test precision at 800 yards, a distance where even experienced marksmen struggled with consistency. Wind conditions were tricky, with gusts coming from multiple directions as the morning heated up. Marcus began his pre-shooting routine, checking wind flags, adjusting his scope, and running through mental calculations he'd performed thousands of times. Elena took position at the firing line beside him, seeming to study the range with the same intensity. She made several small adjustments to her rifle, tested the trigger pull, and settled into a prone position that looked textbook perfect. Still, Marcus noticed other competitors watching her with expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed. Skepticism. When the range officer called for the first shooter to begin, Marcus realized the morning was about to become much more interesting than he'd anticipated. The first shooter, a Green Beret with arms covered in tattoos, took his position and fired 5 shots at the 800-yard target. His grouping was solid, 4 shots within a 6-inch circle, with 1 flyer that cost him points. Respectable for most competitions, but Marcus knew he could do better. 3 more shooters followed, each posting decent scores that would have been impressive in civilian competitions. The crowd of observers grew as word spread about the morning's talent level. Marcus noticed several senior officers positioning themselves with good views of the range, including a colonel he recognized from Special Operations Command. When Elena's turn came, the casual chatter around the firing line died down. She approached her shooting position with methodical precision, checking her rifle one final time before settling into her prone position. Her breathing became controlled and rhythmic as she peered through her scope, making tiny adjustments. The range officer called out wind conditions and gave her the green light. Elena's first shot rang out across the range, followed by 4 more in steady succession. No rushing, no hesitation between shots, just consistent timing that spoke of serious training. Marcus found himself holding his breath as they waited for the target assessment. The range officer's voice came through the speakers clearly. Target 11, Staff Sergeant Vasquez. 5 shots, all in the X-ring. Score 50 points, perfect. A murmur ran through the crowd. Perfect scores at 800 yards weren't unheard of, but they were rare enough to get everyone's attention. Marcus saw Elena's expression remain completely neutral as she cleared her weapon and stepped back from the firing line. Nice shooting, he told her as she passed. Thank you, Elena replied simply. Already focused on the next event, Marcus took his position, feeling the familiar calm that came with years of training. He'd shot perfect scores before, and the pressure of following Elena's performance actually helped him focus. His 5 shots grouped tightly in the target's center, earning him an identical 50-point score. The morning continued with shooters trading impressive performances. But by lunch break, only 4 competitors had managed perfect scores on the long-range event. Elena was one of them, along with Marcus, a Delta Force operator named Johnson, and a Marine Scout sniper called Hayes. During the break, Marcus overheard conversations that revealed more about Elena's background. She'd earned her Ranger tab 2 years earlier, making her part of the first group of women to complete the grueling course. Her specialty was reconnaissance and surveillance, which explained her comfort with precision shooting. Still, competition shooting under pressure was different from operational marksmanship. The afternoon's rapid-fire event would test their ability to engage multiple targets quickly while maintaining accuracy. Shooters had to hit 10 targets at varying distances within 90 seconds. With points deducted for misses and time penalties for going over the limit, Marcus had always excelled at this event, because his combat experience taught him to stay calm when shooting fast. Many precision shooters struggled with the transition from careful, methodical shooting to rapid engagement. Speed without accuracy was useless. But accuracy without speed could be deadly in real situations. The first few competitors posted solid times with minor point deductions. Johnson managed to clear all 10 targets in 72 seconds with no misses, setting a high bar for the remaining shooters. The pressure was building as each successive marksman tried to beat his performance. Elena stepped up for her turn, and Marcus noticed her checking her watch, something she hadn't done during the precision event. She was calculating something, probably planning her engagement sequence to minimize time between targets. The buzzer sounded, and Elena moved through the course with surprising fluidity. Her rifle swung smoothly from target to target, each shot followed immediately by transition to the next position. No wasted motion, no hesitation, just systematic execution that looked almost mechanical in its precision. When the final shot echoed across the range, the timer showed 68 seconds. More importantly, the target assessment revealed 10 hits, all in scoring zones. Elena had not only beaten Johnson's time, but done it without missing a single shot. The crowd's energy shifted noticeably. What started as curious observation was becoming genuine respect. Marcus realized that Elena wasn't just holding her own in this competition. She was legitimately competing for the win. As he prepared for his own rapid-fire run, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in these competitions for years: real uncertainty about the outcome. Elena's performance was forcing him to bring his absolute best, and he found himself grateful for the challenge. His turn came, and Marcus attacked the course with everything he had, knowing that anything less than perfection might not be enough today. Marcus's rapid-fire run felt different than usual. Instead of his typical controlled aggression, he found himself pushing harder, trying to match Elena's impressive time while maintaining his accuracy standards. He moved through the target systematically, his muscle memory taking over as conscious thought stepped aside. When he finished, the timer read 65 seconds with 10 hits, a personal best that would normally have him celebrating. Instead, he felt oddly deflated. The competition was becoming something he hadn't expected, and for the first time in years, winning wasn't guaranteed. Johnson and Hayes completed their runs with respectable performances, but neither matched the pace Elena and Marcus had set. As the final event approached, the leaderboard showed Elena in first place by a narrow margin, with Marcus close behind. The moving target challenge would determine the competition winner. During the brief preparation period, Marcus noticed Elena studying the final course more intently than she had the previous events. Moving targets required different skills: the ability to track motion, calculate late angles, and time shots perfectly. It was often considered the most challenging of the three disciplines. The course consisted of targets moving at different speeds and directions across the range. Some moved laterally across the shooter's field of view, while others approached or retreated at angles. Shooters had 2 minutes to engage as many targets as possible, with scoring based on both accuracy and the number of successful hits. Nervous about this one? Marcus asked Elena as they waited for the event to begin. She considered the question seriously before answering. "Moving targets have always been my weakness," she admitted. "Static precision is more my specialty." Marcus was surprised by her honesty. Most competitors would never reveal perceived weaknesses, especially to direct rivals. There was something refreshing about Elena's straightforward approach to competition. "The key is not overthinking the lead calculations," Marcus offered. "Trust your instincts and let your training take over." Elena nodded thoughtfully. "I appreciate that, really." The first shooters struggled with the moving targets, posting scores well below their earlier performances. The difficulty was evident as even experienced marksmen found themselves missing shots they would normally consider routine when Elena's turn arrived. Marcus positioned himself where he could observe her technique. She approached the moving target event differently than the previous challenges, taking extra time to study each target's movement pattern before beginning her run. Her first few shots were conservative, focusing on the slower moving targets to build confidence and rhythm. As she settled into the challenge, her shooting became more aggressive. Engaging faster targets and attempting more difficult shots, Marcus watched her track. A particularly challenging target, one moving diagonally across the range at significant speed. Elena's rifle followed the target smoothly, her shot timing nearly perfect. The target indicator showed a hit, earning appreciative murmurs from observers. By the end of her 2-minute period, Elena had attempted 18 shots and scored 14 hits on moving targets. It was a solid performance, though not her strongest of the day. She stepped back from the firing line, looking slightly frustrated with herself. "Good shooting," Marcus told her as she collected her equipment. "Not my best," Elena replied with a slight shake of her head. "But sometimes that's how it goes." Marcus took his position knowing he needed a strong performance to win the overall competition. Moving targets had always been his strongest discipline. Combining his natural shooting ability with combat experience that taught him to engage threats that wouldn't hold still, the buzzer started his run. And Marcus immediately began engaging targets with the aggressive confidence that came from years of similar training. His rifle moved fluidly from target to target, each shot carefully timed but executed with the speed that combat operations demanded. He found his rhythm quickly, hitting his first 8 targets without a miss. The faster-moving targets required more concentration. But his experience tracking moving threats in operational environments gave him advantages that pure marksmanship training couldn't provide. As his 2-minute window neared its end, Marcus pushed himself to attempt increasingly difficult shots. A target moving at maximum speed across the far end of the range presented itself, and he tracked it smoothly before squeezing off his final shot. The target indicator confirmed the hit, completing a run that felt as good as any he'd ever shot. When the final scoring was announced, Marcus had scored 16 hits from 19 attempts, enough to win the moving target event decisively. More importantly, his combined score across all 3 events had earned him the overall competition victory by a margin narrow enough to be almost embarrassing. Elena finished second, missing first place by fewer points than a single missed shot would have cost her. As competitors gathered for the closing ceremony, Marcus realized something significant had changed during the day's competition. Elena hadn't just participated, she had pushed everyone, including him, to perform at levels they might not have reached otherwise. The awards ceremony felt different than previous years. Usually, Marcus accepted his trophy amid congratulations that felt almost routine. Everyone expected the veteran SEAL to win. This year, the applause carried genuine surprise and respect for how close the competition had been. Colonel Patterson, the senior officer overseeing the event, made a point of acknowledging Elena's performance specifically. Staff Sergeant Vasquez has demonstrated the kind of exceptional marksmanship skills our special operations community values most highly, he announced to the gathered crowd. Her performance today reflects the changing face of our elite units. As the ceremony concluded, Marcus approached Elena near the equipment return area. She was methodically cleaning her rifle with the same attention to detail she'd shown throughout the competition. "Hell of a day," he said, settling down beside her. Elena looked up from her cleaning. "You shot incredibly well. That moving target run was something else." "So did you," Marcus replied honestly. "I haven't been pushed like that in competition for years." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the noise of other competitors packing up around them. Finally, Elena spoke again. "Can I ask you something?" she said, her tone more serious than it had been all day. "Sure. Did you go easier on me at any point today? Even subconsciously?" The question caught Marcus off guard. He considered it carefully before answering. "No," he said finally. "If anything, I probably pushed harder than usual because I knew you were capable of winning." Elena nodded, seeming satisfied with his response. "Good, I was worried about that. Why?" "Because I've been dealing with that question my whole career. People wondering if standards were lowered, if I really earned what I achieved, if men were going easy on me." She finished cleaning her rifle and began packing it away. "It gets exhausting always having to prove you belong." Marcus thought about the day's events from a perspective he hadn't considered. He'd been focused on his own performance and the challenge Elena presented, but he hadn't thought about what the competition meant from her point of view. "For what it's worth," he said, "today proved you more than belong here." 3 weeks later, Marcus was reviewing mission briefings at his unit's headquarters when his commanding officer called him into a private meeting. The discussion that followed would change both his and Elena's military careers in ways neither could have anticipated. "Rodriguez, we've got a special assignment coming up," Commander Phillips began, sliding a classified folder across his desk. "Joint Task Force operation, highly sensitive. We need someone with your skill set for overwatch and precision support." Marcus opened the folder and scanned the mission overview. A high-value target rescue operation in hostile territory, requiring specialized marksmanship capabilities to provide security for the extraction team. The kind of assignment that could make careers or end them, depending on the outcome. "Timeline's tight," Phillips continued. "We're looking at insertion within 2 weeks. There's one complication, though." "Sir?" "The Army's insisting on providing one of their specialists for the mission. Someone from the 75th Ranger Regiment with reconnaissance experience." Phillips paused, studying Marcus's reaction. "Staff Sergeant Elena Vasquez? I believe you know her." Marcus kept his expression neutral, though his mind immediately began calculating the implications. Joint operations always carried extra complexity. But working with Elena specifically presented interesting possibilities. She's qualified, Marcus said simply. That's what everyone keeps telling me. Her performance at the skills competition has gotten attention at levels way above my pay grade. Phillips leaned back in his chair. The brass wants to see how she performs in actual operations. Marcus understood the subtext. Elena's competition results had impressed senior leadership enough that they wanted to test her capabilities in real-world situations. Success could open doors that had been closed to women in special operations. Failure could set back those opportunities significantly. What's my role in relation to her assignment? Marcus asked. You'll be team leader for the precision support element. She be your partner for reconnaissance and overwatch? Phillips's expression grew more serious. This isn't a training exercise, Rodriguez. Lives depend on everyone performing at their absolute best. That evening, Marcus found himself thinking about the upcoming mission more than usual. Working with Elena in competition had been one thing, but operational environments carried stakes that made marksmanship contests seem trivial by comparison. He'd seen plenty of soldiers who performed brilliantly in training struggle when facing real threats. Combat stress affected people differently, and even exceptional marksmen sometimes discovered that shooting at targets was very different from shooting at people shooting back. Still, Elena's performance at the competition had demonstrated skills that went beyond pure shooting ability. Her composure under pressure, attention to detail, and systematic approach to challenges suggested someone who might adapt well to operational stress. The mission briefing was scheduled for the following week. Marcus realized he was looking forward to working with Elena again, though this time the stakes would be significantly higher than any competition trophy. The joint mission briefing took place in a secure facility that Marcus had visited many times before. Elena arrived early as he'd expected, studying maps and satellite imagery with the same intensity she'd brought to the shooting competition. This time, though, the targets were real, and the consequences of missing were measured in lives rather than points. The mission was straightforward in concept but complex in execution. Intelligence had located 3 American contractors being held in a compound deep in hostile territory. The rescue required a multi-phase operation: reconnaissance to confirm target location and guard patterns, precision elimination of sentries to create an infiltration window, close quarters extraction of the hostages, and coordinated withdrawal under potential enemy fire. Marcus and Elena would establish overwatch positions approximately 800 meters from the target compound. Their job was to provide detailed intelligence on enemy movements, eliminate specific threats on command, and cover the extraction team's withdrawal if the operation went sideways. Weather conditions looked challenging, Elena observed, pointing to the meteorological data. High winds, possible sandstorms. Visibility could change rapidly. Marcus nodded, appreciating that she was thinking about environmental factors that could affect their shooting. Many snipers focused only on the tactical situation, forgetting that weather often determined success or failure in long-range operations. Lieutenant Colonel Brooks, the mission commander, addressed their team directly. Rodriguez, Vasquez, your role is critical to this operation's success. The extraction team will be completely exposed during the initial breach. If you can't neutralize the perimeter guards silently and precisely, we'll lose the element of surprise and probably lose people. The weight of responsibility was obvious. Marcus had carried similar burdens before, but this was Elena's first operational assignment at this level. He watched her reaction carefully, looking for signs of stress or uncertainty that might indicate problems later. Elena's expression remained focused and determined. She asked several technical questions about communication, protocols, and backup plans that demonstrated she was thinking through contingencies rather than just following orders. 2 days later, they were inserted into position under cover of darkness. The infiltration went smoothly, with Elena proving as capable at moving silently through hostile territory as she was at shooting accurately. They established their overwatch position in pre-dawn darkness, settling in for what might be hours of patient Observation. The compound materialized in their scopes as morning light gradually improved visibility. Guard rotations followed the predicted pattern, with sentries positioned exactly where intelligence had indicated. Marcus felt the familiar calm that came with operational focus, his training taking over as conscious thought stepped aside. 4 guards visible, Elena reported quietly through their communication system. 2 on the north wall, 1 at the main gate, 1 patrolling the courtyard. Marcus confirmed her count through his own scope. I've got the north wall targets. You take the gate and courtyard when we get the go signal? They settled into patient observation, tracking guard movements and timing rotation patterns. Elena's reconnaissance training showed as she noted details that pure marksmanship specialists might miss, indicators of additional guards inside buildings, possible escape routes the hostages might use, and changes in the compound's activity level that could signal problems. 3 hours into their observation, the radio crackled with the extraction team's ready signal. Marcus felt his heart rate slow as his body prepared for the precise shooting that would determine the mission's success. Overwatch. This is Alpha Team. We need silent takedown of all visible guards on my mark. Came the team leader's voice. Marcus and Elena synchronized their breathing and settled into their final firing positions. Through his scope, Marcus could see his targets clearly, 2 guards approximately 820 meters away, walking their patrol route with the casual attention of men who didn't expect trouble. Mark, came the command, both rifles fired almost simultaneously. Marcus watched his targets drop instantly. Clean hits that eliminated the threats without any sound that might alert other guards. Elena's targets fell just as cleanly, her shots perfectly timed to prevent any chance of alarm. Overwatch, excellent shooting. All targets neutralized. The extraction team reported as they moved toward the compound. The operation continued flawlessly until an unexpected complication arose. Additional guards that intelligence hadn't detected emerged from a building near the hostage location. The extraction team found themselves pinned down with limited cover, taking fire from multiple directions. Overwatch, we need immediate support. Multiple hostiles engaging from the main building. Came the urgent radio call. Marcus could see the situation developing through his scope, but the angle was wrong for him to engage the new threats effectively. Elena, however, had a clear line of sight to the building where the unexpected guards were positioned. I can take them, Elena said calmly, already adjusting her position. Take the shots, Marcus replied without hesitation, trusting her capability completely. Elena's rifle spoke 3 times in rapid succession, each shot carefully aimed despite the time pressure. Marcus watched through his scope as hostile fighters dropped one by one, their firing positions going silent as Elena's bullets found their marks. Her shooting was clinical and precise, exactly what the situation demanded. Threats neutralized, Elena reported, her voice steady despite having just taken 3 lives to save. American soldiers, the extraction team moved quickly through the compound, locating the hostages and beginning their withdrawal. Marcus and Elena maintained overwatch, scanning for additional threats that might emerge during the most vulnerable phase of the operation. As the extraction team reached their withdrawal route, Marcus made a decision that would surprise everyone, including himself. Enemy reinforcements were approaching from the east, and the extraction team needed more time to reach safety with the rescued hostages. Elena, he said, removing his rifle from its shooting position and turning toward her, I need you to take primary overwatch. Without hesitation, Marcus handed Elena his custom rifle, the same weapon he'd used to win countless competitions, modified and refined through years of operational experience. It was worth more than most soldiers' annual salary and represented 12 years of professional pride. Elena understood immediately. Marcus's rifle had superior optics and modifications that would give her better capability against the approaching threats. She accepted the weapon without question, quickly familiarizing herself with its controls and sight picture. The approaching enemy force was larger than expected, moving in vehicles that would bring them within range of the extraction route. Elena settled behind Marcus's rifle and began engaging targets at distances that pushed the limits of her Abilities. Her first shot disabled the lead vehicle, sending it careening off the road and blocking the path for vehicles behind it. The second shot eliminated a hostile fighter who was setting up a heavy weapon that could have devastated the extraction team. Marcus watched Elena work with his rifle, seeing her adapt to its different characteristics and use its enhanced capabilities to make shots he wasn't sure he could have made himself. She was performing beyond what anyone had expected, including him. Overwatch, outstanding support, came the radio call from the extraction team. We're clear of the compound and moving to pickup. The operation concluded successfully. All 3 hostages were recovered alive, and the entire team withdrew without casualties. Elena's performance during the critical moments had been flawless, demonstrating skills that exceeded what anyone had anticipated from her first operational assignment during the helicopter ride back to base. Marcus found himself reflecting on the day's events. He'd started the mission as Elena's team leader, responsible for her performance and integration into the unit. By the end, he'd been handing her his most prized possession and trusting her with the mission's success. "Thank you," Elena said quietly, returning Marcus's rifle to him as they prepared to disembark. "For what?" "For trusting me when it mattered most. And for treating me like any other operator." Marcus accepted his rifle and checked it over automatically, noting that Elena had treated it with the same care she'd shown her own equipment throughout their time together. "You earned that trust," he replied simply, 6 months later. Elena received orders assigning her to a specialized unit that had never included women before. Her operational success had opened doors that military leadership was finally ready to walk through. Marcus wasn't surprised to learn that his recommendation had been instrumental in her selection. At her going-away gathering, Marcus approached Elena one final time as a teammate. "Any regrets about stepping into this world?" he asked. Elena smiled, the same calm expression she'd worn throughout the competition that started their professional relationship. "None at all," she said. "Though I have to admit, handing someone your rifle was probably the biggest compliment I've ever received." Marcus laughed, remembering the moment when he'd realized that Elena didn't just belong in their community, she was going to help define its future. "Best decision I made that day," he replied, meaning every word.